I am so honored to be bringing this guest to you today because I am such a big fan of everything that this man does. Okay, yeah, I have butterflies in my stomach. Don't make a big deal out of it. Okay, sure, maybe I have a little bit of butterflies. Sorry, this is a big deal for me. Today we have Rainn Wilson. I mean, I'm just so excited. I am just so excited. You know who Rainn Wilson is, but just in case you don't, Rainn Wilson is an Emmy nominated actor, producer, and writer, best known for his role as Dwight Schrute in the US version of The Office. I, as we all are, am a huge fan of The Office. It's like everybody has their favorite comfy show, you know? And I would say for 90% of America, it's The Office. I'm a part of that 90%. I remember watching it during class in high school, and I've been watching it ever since. Rainn does a lot. Rainn is a busy guy, okay? He's co founder of the media company Soul Pancake, which specializes in the human experience and creating positive social change. He also is a podcaster. His podcast is called Metaphysical Milkshake. On the podcast, he sets out to answer life's biggest questions. But wait, there's more. Coming in April, he has another podcast coming out called Soul Boom that's all about spirituality because Rainn is a very spiritual guy. He hosts a TV series called The Geography of Bliss where he explores the happiest communities in the world. I could list all of the incredible things that he does all day, but I'll finish it off with his book, Soul Boom: Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution. It's a book basically about how spirituality could help heal the world. That's also available as an audiobook on Spotify if you want to go listen. I feel like Rainn and I have a lot in common on a personal level. Um, I don't know him personally, though. So it's like, why am I saying that I think we have a lot in common? Well, I've seen him talk a lot about anxiety, spirituality, two things that are very relevant in my personal life. I think they're relevant in a lot of our lives, but I'm very anxious. And because of that, I've become very spiritual to try to cope with it. So let's bring in Rainn Wilson, the iconic, the incredible, the genius, Rainn Wilson. Here he is. We have to set the foundation here. Who were you as a child? What was
Wow.
your vibe as a child?
That's funny. And usually I pay my therapist, quite a lot, but we're jumping right in. I love it. Okay.
I know.
Here we're going right to the childhood. So, how deep you want to go? Do you want to do like medium deep?
No, I will go as deep as you want to go. I
Okay.
can go the deepest. I can handle
I
it.
could go deeper than you. That's what she said, and that's not what that's not what we're talking about here.
No, that's not
But
today's topic.
we want to go. Okay.
But we can go real deep.
So, as a child, I'm a year and a half, 2 years old, and my mom and my dad split up. My mom takes off, and I go with my dad. So what does my dad do? He packed up me and moved to Nicaragua.
Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Drink that in, America.
Whoa.
Emma Chamberlain. Is that your name? That's your name, right?
Yes. Long last name.
Fan base.
Yeah, yes. Eat that up.
Eat it up.
Digest that.
Yes. So here I am. I'm like a big, ungainly toddler with a giant head and a pasty torso, tottering around literally the jungles of Nicaragua.
Whoa.
Where as a child, I spoke fluent Spanish, and I was running around on the muddy, jungly, monkey-strewn streets of Bluefields, Nicaragua.
Wow.
For reals.
For reals?
Yeah.
For how long were you there?
About 2.5 years or
Okay.
so. And when I was 5.5, we moved back to the Pacific Northwest, and I started kindergarten in Olympia, Washington.
Okay,
And my dad had
interesting.
gotten remarried when we were down in Nicaragua to my stepmom, and So it was already a weird childhood.
Unsettling because you got ripped out of what you were comfortable with, got
Yep.
taken to a completely new environment. Now you're back in the old environment. Like, it's a
Yep.
lot for the nervous system, I can imagine.
And the mom leaves, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
there's a
Yes.
new mom.
Yep.
And you're also in a jungle, by the way.
Yep. Yep.
You're also like preternaturally nerdy.
Yep.
And so then I'm back in Olympia, Washington as this nerdy kid who doesn't even know, like, I wasn't very well socialized. It was like I was
Yes.
raised by like capuchin white-faced monkeys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I didn't know like the social rules of being a human being in suburbia.
Yep.
Then we were also very poor.
Yep.
Now, when you say poor, there's a spectrum, right?
Totally. Yeah.
I had meals.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We had a car.
Yep.
It was a used Edsel, which
Yep.
is like this weird car. But I got my clothes at Salvation Army. I
Yep.
mean, we were in like a 900 square foot house in Olympia.
Mhm.
And I think my dad was making, like, I'm not kidding you, I think he was making like $9,000 a year or something like that.
Whoa.
So that's a little backdrop. But
Yeah.
then we get into the super nerd stuff come like junior high, high school.
Okay, so you consider yourself a nerd. You were a nerd.
Bro,
Bro.
let's get real about
Get
this.
real about the nerd.
I always read these articles and you're like, Charlize Theron was like, I was so nerdy in high school. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
You, come on.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Did you play D&D
I
every
was
weekend?
about to say.
Were you on the chess team? Were you on the chess team, Charlize?
Yeah.
Were you on Model United Nations?
Yeah.
Did you play the bassoon?
Yeah. No.
Like, no, and no.
People are calling themselves nerds because they wore glasses. Like,
Yeah.
and they actually didn't even need them. They were just
Or
like,
they
oh,
read Harry Potter books.
once.
Like,
Actually,
so,
no, watch the movie. Let's be honest, watch the
yeah,
movie.
read half the book and
Yeah.
then watched the movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were like full nerd.
Full on.
Do you feel like,
Pimples.
oh, that too? I had that
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
I wasn't a full nerd.
I had back knee.
Me too.
You had back knee?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know women could get back knee.
Oh, can they? Full back knee. I used to pop it in class and reach back and pop it in class. Just like into my shirt. Is disgusting, which would only make it worse, of course, because now pimple juice is rubbing over all the pores.
Oh, it's terrible.
Making more pimple. It's horrible. Okay, so were you a happy kid?
Here's the deal. I was I did my best.
Yep.
I wasn't suicidal and
That's
and
great.
depressed. Every day was an adventure. And, but on top of this, and, it's important to note too, like when my dad and stepmom got married down in Nicaragua, when I was writing, I wrote a book about my life called The Bassoon King. That's a comedic memoir.
Uh-huh.
And I asked them, I was like, when did you, because they got a divorce the second I went away to college. Like literally went to college in September. In October, they told me they're getting a divorce.
Yep.
And I said, like, when did you know that marrying the other was a mistake? And both of them said within 6 months. So
oh my God.
I'm 3.5. They get married. They knew, and then they stayed together till I was 18 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So 15 years of a really unhappy marriage, but I don't know, they stayed together for religious reasons or to raise me, thinking that it would help me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being a kid, being 11, 12 years old, kind of in my head going, God, I wish they'd get a divorce.
Totally.
Because they would have been, I'm really not a fan of divorce. Who is? But at the same time, like, don't do it for the kids. Because you pick up on this
the energy,
lovelessness vibe that's going around in the household. And it was this colossal mind fuck because on a number of different levels, like, because we seem to be a quirky, albeit quirky family, but kind of a normal family. Like, we would sit and we would watch MASH on TV and we would have meatloaf, for dinner, and we would walk the dog, and we had a little garden in the backyard. So it seemed kind of normal-ish, but there was just this disconnection, like they never hugged or they didn't laugh together and loved and together. And so there's this, like, then it makes me feel even more like an alien.
Absolutely. Do you feel like it impacted your beliefs on love as a young adult? Like when you started, let's say, dating for
Yeah.
the first time, because my parents are divorced and they have actually a great friendship, which is amazing.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm very fortunate in
Mhm.
that way. And I constantly am checking in on myself, like, how did that impact, the way that I romantically love? Like, and I don't quite know. Like, I
Mm.
have my hypotheses. I'm not certain. Are you certain on how it impacted you, or are you kind of unsure? Or maybe it didn't impact you at all.
No, there was definitely an impact there. I mean, I will say this. So my dad, before he passed away, was on his fourth wife. My mom, my natural mom, is I think it's husband five. And then
Wow.
my stepmom also got remarried. So there was just a lot of like, you know,
Yeah.
um, when my father died, I had three moms. I had my birth mother, my stepmom who raised me, and then my dad's widow, who I'm
Yeah.
also very close to, and I'm close to all of them.
Wow.
But Rainn had three mommies is kind of the motto. So my wife and I have been together for 32 years,
Wow.
and uh, we've had some struggles. We've had a
Of
lot of
course.
ups and downs, and I don't want to paint any kind of picture like it's just been this super rosy, thing. But I do think there was a response to all of that chaos in the home to
Mhm.
try my best fitfully and not with great success to have a solid relationship to build on in a family. And
Mhm.
but in that sense I'm grateful for that because we have a great marriage, and I'm really happy to be with her. Tomorrow's her birthday.
Happy birthday,
Yeah.
wifey.
Is there
That's
some
amazing.
swag I can give her here?
Oh yeah, we'll
Can I
give
have
you
this
so
lamp?
much. Have the lamp.
Okay.
That's easy. But at least put my name on the tag when you give it to her.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. No, it's totally cool. I'll send her something myself.
But yeah, so yeah, I made lots of mistakes dating and whatnot, but I guess maybe just really wanting some kind of like long-term commitment,
Yep.
like have a long-term relationship. And, you know,
Well, it could go one of two ways, right? I feel like some people probably, maybe have turbulent love that they're watching as they're like
if you
what
become accustomed to anxiety and chaos as a child,
Yep,
then you seek out anxiety and chaos in your relationships as an adult. And because that feels
absolutely.
normal,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
I know lots of people that had chaos and anxiety, even depression, as a kid in their home life. And then, when a stable, calm, peaceful, and meaningful relationship is presented to them, they're like, no, I'm not feeling it. And
Totally.
then they date the person that's going to give them all of that fireworks
Yes.
that they were used to.
It is kind of a blessing to crave the stable option
Mm,
as a response
yeah.
to, the experience. So, let's go back to you in high school.
Yeah.
What were you interested in? What were your hobbies? What were your favorite subjects in school? Like, what
Yeah.
did you love?
Well, I had two phases to my high school life. So I will say that junior year and the first 2 years of high school, I was in suburban Seattle,
Mhm.
and that's when I was in super nerd mode.
Super nerd
And,
mode.
played the bassoon in orchestra. I played the xylophone in marching band.
Niche instruments only for you.
Only niche
Yeah.
instruments. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of that saxophone crap,
No,
you know.
ew, cringe.
And then we had a marching band. We were the Highlanders, so we wore Scottish kilts. So I
Whoa.
was
Oh
in
my
a
God.
xylophone
So
in a
niche.
kilt walking down the street. Ding, 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 ding,
There's
ding, ding,
something
ding,
very Seattle about that.
ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is very Seattle. Did you ever see that show Freaks and Geeks? Classic show from
No,
like early
actually.
2000s?
Somebody showed me one episode of it and
Yeah.
I never saw
That
anymore.
was so my life, and I love that show.
Love.
Love that show. Yeah, Model United Nations, a chess team, a computer club, debate club. Just I loved the nerdy pursuits. I frantically read science fiction novels,
Uh-huh.
and and I've kept most of them. They were stored in my parents' basement in boxes, so I have them in my house. I have hundreds of 1970s, like crazy with like space girls with laser guns and big
Love.
boobs on the cover, and
Yes.
people fighting saber-toothed tigers. And
Obviously.
my dad wrote science fiction books on the side of
Whoa.
whatever else he was doing. So all through my childhood, he was like feverishly writing science fiction books.
He's an artist, it sounds like. An
Yeah,
artist.
he was.
He
He was.
can't avoid it.
Yeah, he was a painter and a science fiction book writer, but he had to provide for the family, so he
Yep.
worked at a sewer construction
Yep.
company.
Yep.
So it was this weird combination of like super blue collar and I lived in a blue collar neighborhood, and my friends' dads were insurance salesmen and fishermen
Yep.
and loggers and plumbers, and but then they had this weird artsy thing.
Yep.
So, and then to top it all off, my parents, I grew up a member of the Baha'i faith, so that was a weird
Yes.
thing
Yep.
too. So like, then you're like your religion doesn't even match what everyone else is.
Yeah.
Everyone else is Protestants, and so we were Baha'is. So that, so I felt very alienated on a number of different levels.
You know, like some kids grow up around a religion, right?
Yeah.
And it isn't really theirs, if that makes sense. Like they
Mhm.
don't really adopt it. It doesn't become a part of their personal life. Maybe it
Yeah.
is a part of their family life, but it's not a part of their personal life. Were you religious?
I went all in.
You were all in.
I was all in.
Tell me a little bit about that. Also, I'm not familiar with the Baha'i faith,
No.
so please enlighten me.
Yeah. So super nutshell version, Baha'is believe that there's only one God
Uh-huh.
and that all the religions of the world are essentially one religion because they're all different chapters in a book, but they're all coming from the same source, which is God. So Buddhism and the Buddha are divine. Christianity and Jesus are divine.
It sounds incredibly inclusive and positive.
Very inclusive, positive. Muhammad and the Quran are divine. Like,
Yep.
so we, as a Baha'i, we grew up reading all these different holy books, and Baha'is want love and unity and harmony and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of work, and it was great growing up in the 70s as a Baha'i because it was also, it was very diverse. Like it wasn't Baha'is are very much about elimination of racial prejudice and racial differences. So when I went to Baha'i gatherings, it was Black Baha'is, white Baha'is, Hispanic Baha'is,
Yes.
indigenous Baha'is, like
Yep.
all singing and kumbaya. It was like
That's amazing.
yeah, it was very kumbaya. And I went all in on that, and it brought me a lot, actually. We would go to these retreats like summer school, winter school. We'd have, and I'd see other like nerdy Baha'i kids, and we'd be like, "Yay, we're Baha'is." And would always be the only Baha'i at our school.
Yep.
And be able to bond about that and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I left the Baha'i faith and all religion hardcore for at least 13, 14 years
Whoa.
as an adult. So that's a whole other chapter, but that was my nerd chapter as
Okay, so
yeah.
you were, I mean, but it sounds like, did you have friends? You had, like,
I had some friends.
were you
Yeah, I had
like,
a little,
were you
I had
like,
a little posse.
I have
Yeah.
a big group, or were you like, I have one best friend? Like my vibe was always one best friend at a time.
Yeah.
I would like pop around in a group, but I would always have
Who,
one.
who was your best friend?
I've had many,
Okay.
but
So it was like a revolving door of best friends?
kind of.
Yeah.
Which sounds toxic, and it probably is.
Do they
like,
do a lot of them now that you're like the big cheese and whatever it is that
they
you do?
probably think it's so bizarre.
Yeah. I think for like the Seattle contingent, I think they're like, what that guy?
Totally.
The bassoon
Totally.
playing guy?
No, they
is
think
the,
that about me
is
too.
the celebrity? Like that weird guy? What
Yeah, but
the
now
hell
they're
is
a
going
huge
on?
fan and they don't know what
Yeah.
to do. So, but you were like, were you outgoing?
No, I was very shy and self-conscious and very low self-esteem.
Were
Yeah.
you funny?
I was funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
I had the funny would come out.
Yes.
And I learned rapidly, like, like even bullies would be like, kind of like, hey, rain, go away. Hey, asshole. And they're like ready to like kind of mix it up or whatever. Like,
rain, go away is not nearly mean enough for a bully. They need that.
yeah.
That's level 1. You're like,
Yeah.
Emma, stop. You're taking away from my trauma. But that's like, that's, hey.
I got it almost
They
every
were,
day.
They were a little scared of you, I think.
it-
that they weren't going that hard because they were like, we're a
Yeah.
little scared of him.
It got a little harder here and there, but you're right. It was a gentler time. It was the 70s.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
do you think it was?
Yes and no. So I think that the bullying wasn't as toxic, but it was more pervasive.
Sure.
So it just happened. Everyone got teased. Everyone got bullied. Everyone got pushed around. Everyone scrapped. You were supposed to just tolerate bullying. And it was
Yeah.
just like, I would complain, like they're picking on me, and my parents would be like, and teachers would be like, yeah, that's how the world is. So get used to it. Learn how to survive with that.
Really?
But there wasn't any like parent teacher conferences of like, so Ricky, you've been bullying Rainn. How do we work this out?
Yep.
And there
That's
wasn't any of that.
crazy.
Yeah. It's the teachers going, okay, you two,
Yeah.
they're like, ah, pulling him apart and like,
Yep.
get back to class. Okay, everybody, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Get
So,
going.
do you feel like being bullied, do you feel like it helped you develop your humor?
I think a lot of comedy comes out of pain, and a lot of
Yep.
comedy comes out of as a kind of a coping mechanism. And Arthur Brooks actually talks about that in his book. You should get him on the show. He just
Oh.
wrote this book with Oprah about, I forget what it's called, how to be happy or something like that. And he talked about emotional caffeine. So his concept, I'm taking no credit for this, is that caffeine isn't actually a stimulant. It actually blocks the kind of
The
the
sleepy.
endorphin and sleepy endorphins
Yep.
that are in your brain.
Yep.
And so what do we do to block that in other ways? So sadness can be blocked with humor.
Yes.
Like if you are telling a joke or goofing off or making someone laugh or laughing yourself, it is literally impossible to be sad at the same time.
Yeah, it is.
You can stop and then be sad, but while you're doing it,
Yep.
you can't be sad. And so I think that was a big survival mechanism for me and my friends. We would watch early Saturday Night Live in the late 70s, early 80s. We would do those sketches. We would watch Monty Python and do those sketches and just make each other laugh. And it was a way to get by. It was subversive.
Yep.
Like the nerds were funny. The popular kids weren't funny because
No.
they didn't need to be.
No.
Because they were just getting like all this love and attention.
Yep.
So why would they be funny? So
Yep.
it's the kids in the cracks that end up being funny.
It's so true. When did you start thinking I could use my humor for my job?
I'm going to go to junior year. We
Yep.
moved to a high school outside of Chicago that has an incredible theater program.
Yep.
Here
we go.
I sign up for my very first acting class. And but it's not true. I took one in Seattle, but it was terrible, and we just made puppets. So I sign up for this acting class. The first exercise, I'm this new kid at school. There's the first exercise is called private in public. So how do you act normally in your room and allow people to just see and to just witness your private life? So I was really into music. I loved like crazy. I liked punk and new wave and alternative type of music. And I brought in my record player and this Elvis Costello album, and I was just in my room, and then I put on this song called Mystery Dance by Elvis Costello. That's this rock. And then I just started dancing just like crazy, like,
Yeah.
like I would in my room.
Yeah.
And the crowd went crazy. They went wild in the acting class. I was in this new school. There were all these very cute girls that all of a sudden came up
Totally.
and were like, oh my gosh, you're so funny. Hey, what's your name? Welcome to our school. Do you want to
Whoa.
sit with us at our lunch table? And I was just like, oh, like the angels sang. Oh. And I was like, no more chess team. No more bassoon. Like no more Model United Nations. I'm going in. I went all in on the drama nerd at that point.
Whoa. Okay. Love it.
So that was the beginning, and there's a lot more to the story, but then did drama in high school, went to one college, did a bunch of plays, went to another college, did a bunch of plays, realized that I kind of needed like training as an actor. So
Yep.
I auditioned for and got into NYU, moved to NYU and went to acting school and went all in on that, in my early 20s.
Let's get into acting. When did acting become your job?
Well, that's all I wanted. So my dad, like I said, he wrote these science fiction novels. He's published one of them, and he painted paintings. He never sold any of them. So other than the one published science fiction book, I had never met a single person that got paid to be an artist in my whole life. I never met someone who got money to write a poem or do a dance or, be an actor or sing a song or anything like that. So that was not in my worldview, mostly in suburban Seattle. So when I decided and I went all in on trying to be an actor, I was like, I want to get paid for this.
Yeah.
And that was my whole drive. I didn't have a trust fund. I had to make my own rent. I had to make my own way. So I went to this really good acting training program that had its ups and downs, got out, and then I started doing little theater things. I was mostly training for the theater and thinking I was going to work in the theater in New York. But I had a ton of shitty jobs, driving a moving van. My wife and I had a dog walking service.
Cute.
It didn't last long. It's hard work.
You lost a dog, didn't you?
I lost a dog in Central Park. Yeah.
Gone.
They're still looking for it. It was called Tales of New York.
That's cute.
Tails. Get it?
I love that.
Yeah.
Kind of
We had a
smart.
great poster.
Bring it back.
You can bring it back.
Family biz.
Yeah.
Family business.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But yeah, so I went all in, and then I wanted it to be my job, but I really wanted to, I thought I was going to be in the theater. And then I did this tour. You know the actor Jeffrey Wright? He was on this tour with me. We were friends back in the day, worked together back in the day. And I finished this whole tour. And at the end of it, like we were getting our mail, and I got like my bank statement, and I had like $1,200 in the bank. And I had worked for like 9 months. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey was there, and Jeffrey was opening his mail. And then I'll never forget it. He's like, yeah, oh my God, woo, yeah. He had gotten a residual check because he had done 3 days on a Harrison Ford movie, and he had a check for $3,500.
Whoa.
He was like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yes.
And in my head, right then and there, I was like, okay, I'm in the wrong business. If I'm ever gonna buy a house, if I'm ever gonna pay off my student loans, I gotta get into film and TV.
Yep.
So it was a long road, dude. I did nothing but theater for 9 or 10 years in New York before I did any TV or film. But I really, a few years in, just kind of focused on like, I need to try and get some film and TV work.
Yep. Do you prefer theater or film and TV? What do you think is more fulfilling?
So and this sounds like a cop-out, but I really like all of it.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. They all have very different demands. It's kind of like saying to a musician, like, do you like playing on an album? Do you like playing live?
Right.
Or do you like writing songs with songwriters, around a campfire? It's like they're all different expressions of music.
Yep.
And a good musician is going to love all of that.
Absolutely.
So theater, you're up in front of an audience. It's 90 minutes to 2 hours. You are telling the story. You are driving the story just with your acting chops. There's no cuts. There's no music. There's no visual effects. It's just you and an audience, and the actor is king in that sense. A film is really intense and really short. You go on a film, you're going to be on it from 2 weeks to 6 months.
Yep.
And it's a really compact time of your life, and you're figuring out the arc of the character, and you shoot it maybe crazy out of order. So many times I've done a movie and you're shooting like the last scene on the first day.
Yeah.
So you've got to really track. So it's about that intensity, and it's really in the director's hands.
Yeah.
Then on a TV show, like The Office, like other ones that I've done, like that, the TV show is the domain of the writer, and they're the ones building the 1 year arc, the 5 year arc, the 9 year arc of the show, season to season, the arc where the characters are going to go. And it's like, it's a great steady job, an amazing paycheck. And it's comforting to like go in and get to play, Dwight for 12 hours a day for 9 years.
Yeah.
And it's another family, and that's a whole different experience.
It sounds like you love the art of acting.
I do.
And because I don't think
I did not go into it for fame or money. I really
exactly.
didn't. In fact, I was on Bill Maher's podcast, and he was like, well, you got into it for the fame. I was like, no, I didn't. He's like, come on. I'm like, no, I love the craft of acting. I love the craft of storytelling.
Yeah.
I love to transform into characters that are different than myself.
Yep.
And I've always just loved that. Did I want to pay the bills? Sure. Did I want to ultimately buy a house? Sure. But I didn't go into it to become the wildly successful talent that you see before you.
Do you like being famous?
I'll be really honest with you.
Please.
Mostly yes.
Oh.
Because of the doors that it opens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went into this incredible restaurant with my managers. We had a dinner, and then they recognized me, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, here's our number, and you can come in anytime. So then my wife's birthday, in fact, last night, we went
Yeah.
And I got to use that and get a nice table. And
Yes.
they gave us some free scallops. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is awesome, right? And I've gotten invited to tennis tournaments and
Yes.
trips to places. And, you know, you get a lot
Yes.
of perks from it that for a nerdy kid from Seattle, I'm like, I'll take it. And I'm super grateful for Dwight, but it can be tough to just be known mostly for one character. I've played dozens and dozens of characters in my career,
Absolutely.
but I'm mostly known for one. And that can be tough. And it can be tough socially in a lot of ways, like just how you're treated. And you want to get deep? Here we
Oh,
go.
I love getting deep.
When they asked young people not long ago, what was their number one goal? Did they want money? Did they want sex? Did they want happiness? Did they want blah, 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 blah? By far and away, the thing they wanted the most was fame. Because fame gives you all that. Theoretically,
Yep.
fame gives you money.
Yep.
It gives you sex. It gives you
Yep.
status.
Yep.
It gives you, supposedly happiness.
Yep.
It doesn't give you happiness.
No.
If you have a hole in you, fame is not going to fill that hole.
No.
In fact, it's going to take you away from your happiness, because then you have not done the work to build up your internal sense of self, where it's like, I love myself. I want to be with myself. I have a vision of what my life is, and I'm content in that. And I have mission and purpose and vibrancy.
Mm-hmm.
And then fame just it just breeds more fame. It's like a drug. Like
Yeah.
you're chasing it ever more, and you want more likes and more followers and more jobs and more money and more status and more esteem, and you're searching outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy thing. Like get this, and maybe you've had, I don't want to hear your experience. Like
Yeah.
when I started to get famous, which was later for me,
Mhm.
late 30s, early 40s,
Mhm.
from The Office, and I did this couple of shows before that, 6 Feet Under and some other things, and I started to get recognized. Like
Mhm.
it was the weirdest thing. For the picture that nerdy kid that I was talking about,
Mhm.
whose mom took off,
Mhm.
whose parents were in a loveless, fractured marriage
Yep.
with a lot of just alienation all around me.
Mhm.
And then picture that guy, that same guy at 38, 39, walking down the streets and people going, "Hey, I love you."
Mhm.
And which is a weird
Oh no,
thing
that's a
to
lot.
say.
Yeah.
I love you. And they turn like, "I love you. I love you." It's like, I'm being loved. Finally, I'm
Yes.
loved. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I'm loved. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not love.
Yeah.
I've laughed at you and I appreciate your work, is
Yeah.
what they should be saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
But they don't love me.
Yeah.
They don't
Well, they
love
don't even know you.
they don't know me, and they don't love the kind of essentially unlovable Rainn Wilson. So
I doubt that you're very lovable. But it's
oh,
no, but I understand that because I mean, I think it's interesting because for me, my career has been they only know me. I've never been a character.
right.
So it's so unusual
Yeah.
because when they say like, "Oh, I love you," it's like this is weird cuz you actually do kind of know me and there is always going to be there are parts of me that are not seen.
Yeah,
That's
you're
impossible.
not going to share
I
all
can't
of
share
you.
everything.
Yeah.
They don't see my mental breakdown. Like, I don't know. Like, they don't see me on a grumpy day. Like,
Yeah.
it is weird because you almost feel maybe is it imposter syndrome in a way? Like you're receiving all this love and affection and you're like, but I don't feel like it's deserved. Was that sort of your experience? Or was it more like they don't know me and they think that they do? So this is kind of bizarre and hard to digest. Like, what was your reaction to suddenly having all these people fawn after you and love you?
It's just a colossal mind fuck, because who doesn't love people coming up and saying, "Hey, I love you,"
Of
or "I love your
course.
work," or "I love what you do,"
Yeah.
or "You're great"? Like everyone loves that.
Mhm.
Celebrities are lying if they say like, "Oh, I don't like fame," or "I don't like that."
Of
Like,
course.
everyone likes that.
Yep.
That is a very human thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the first few years that I was famous, it kind of went to my head in some not healthy ways. And I'm not saying I went on like cocaine fueled binges and,
Good job.
but it did mess with my head and messed with my ego because,
Oh,
and I'm also not saying I became like this arrogant narcissist, but I could be a dick
yeah,
sometimes. And it was really hard for my wife to put up with me during a lot
yeah.
of those years. And I wanted more. And I was, I've talked about
Oh,
this
so
on
it
some
was the
other,
opposite of imposter syndrome. It was like, I got this. I'm gonna soak it up.
I want to soak it up and
Yeah,
I want
and
more
I
of
want
it.
more. I
And
see.
how come I'm not getting even more?
Yeah,
That chase is like, oh, this feels good. Then I want more.
absolutely.
Now, a lot of people, I imagine people are watching and going, oh, boo hoo hoo, cry me a river, you celebrities. You make money, you get endorsements. Oh, it's so hard. Nah, nah, nah. It's a lot harder to be a plumber and to pay your bills.
Yeah,
But still, people view it as like, oh, once you get a certain level of fame, then you have arrived and you
yeah.
are going to have it all and you won't have any worries. We talked about anxiety a little bit, and I was a very anxious child and turned into an anxious adult.
Mm-hmm.
I've been treated for anxiety. I have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety makes me do a lot of things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And fame, it's like pot. Pot
Mm-hmm.
makes you think that you're calming your anxiety. It doesn't really calm your
Yeah.
anxiety. It's just putting like a blanket over it temporarily
Yeah.
until you come like kicking and thrashing
Yeah.
out of the blanket. So fame is the same thing. Like it's seemingly soothing your anxiety. Oh, they like me. Oh, I'm popular.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a new job. Oh, that's soothing, but it's not addressing that essential wound.
My like anxiety response to fame is so the opposite. Like me being in the public eye gives me so much
More
anxiety.
anxiety. Yeah.
Yes, like
Yeah.
it is a trigger for me. I think it's also
But you
the
chose to be
internet
in the public
age.
eye. You
Yeah.
chose to be in the public eye,
Yeah.
and you could not
I
do
could
it.
totally not do it.
Yeah.
But I have to weigh the pros and cons. Cuz I love there are so
There's
many
things you
things
love
about it
about
that
it.
I love. So
Yeah.
it's so worth it. So it's more like managing that relationship.
Yeah.
What is I think so frightening is sort of the town square like you feel like you're always in the middle of the town square in a way,
Mm,
even though no one really cares and it's not
mm,
really that deep, but you feel like every move you make maybe
hmm.
you're being scrutinized, which you
Yeah.
are in a way.
Yeah.
And that I think is what causes me a lot of anxiety. Like it
But it is, there is a difference between being an actor. Now, people know me from Instagram and social media or whatever. There's a certain level of play there, and being on
yeah.
podcasts like this where I'm talking as myself.
Yeah.
But mostly people know me as a character. So that
Yep.
is a little separation. But you're right. You come up in this lens, and it's like people are following your every move, what you're
Yeah.
wearing, what you're saying, and your every action is scrutinized
Yeah.
in a way where it's kind of like, God, can I just go get a smoothie and not
Yeah.
take a shower and not have
Yes.
someone try and sneak a picture on their phone and
Yeah.
post it or something like that?
Well, I think the age of social media has impacted what being a celebrity is. You know what I mean? Or being famous is. Because anything can be posted at any time of you.
Yeah.
There is a lot of Dwight on TikTok.
Is there?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what is your relationship to that character? Like you're probably so are you just so sick of talking about it? Like or will it never get old because it was such a huge part of your life and it is I imagine such a special character to you. Like what is your relationship to Dwight?
Well, yes and no, am I sick of talking about it? Like, I've talked about it a ton because not just over the last 10 years since the show ended, but during the 9 years of doing the show. So it's been almost 20 years of talking about Dwight.
Yeah.
So part of it is like, who likes to talk about anything for 20 years?
No, yeah.
But that at the same time, I understand the lasting legacy of that show and how important it is to people, how important it is to their mental health,
Yep.
and how much it has helped calm and qualm people's anxiety. And people are so obsessed with the show. They love it so much. Sometimes I'll go to a fan conference and do some signings or run into people or whatever. Like people are crying, they're sobbing because that show just meant so much to them. So I
Yep.
want to honor that,
Yeah.
And like I said, I played dozens of characters before Dwight. I've played a couple dozen characters since I played Dwight. It's just one of the characters that it happened to be the one that was on a home run show
Yep.
that lasted. But I have a great relationship with Dwight. And a great testament is that people can't believe how different I am than Dwight. And
Yeah.
but they see some similarities and, oh, some similarities.
Yeah.
Dwight opened so many doors for
Yeah.
me. I mean, I've had so many incredible opportunities to do movies and to meet incredible folk and to travel and obviously to buy a house and a
Yep.
great paycheck and an amazing office family. So super, super grateful. How could I not be?
Yeah.
But I hope at the end of the day that people understand, like, oh, he was an actor and he was a good actor and he was good in a lot of different roles.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, what do you feel like is a role that you did that you want to talk about more? Like, because it was so
Well, I haven't done any for 9 years, so I didn't
yeah,
do 200 episodes of any other role.
right, of course.
So,
But even something that was like, even if it was like a tiny indie film that no one ever saw, that
yeah.
like whatever, like what is that character for you? What is that role for you?
All right. The first thing that popped in my head is I did this indie film 10 years ago called Hesher,
Mm-hmm.
and it was with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Natalie Portman. And no one saw it for some reason. It's a really good movie. The score
Whoa.
is by Metallica.
Whoa.
And it's a really fucked up and funny drama. And I play this kind of really sad dad. His wife has died. It's a dramatic role. I'm pill popping. And it's a role I loved playing.
Mhm.
And a lot of people saw the film and had no idea it was the guy who played Dwight. And it was kind of
Whoa.
like, for them, it was like jaw dropping because I looked so different and acted so different, and they couldn't even put it together.
Wait, I need to watch this.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
Yeah. What is your favorite type of, or like, what was sort of your favorite type of character to play? Like, was there something that you were drawn to? Is it something that's similar to you or something that's maybe as far away from you as possible? Like, what was the most exciting to you?
Well, I think from the background that we talked about, like, I love to play misfits and I love to
Mm.
play people that don't fit in. I wouldn't
Mhm.
know how to play someone popular or well
Yep.
balanced. I mean, could I do it? I could kind of fake my way through it. You know what I mean? Like, could I play like a handsome, popular CEO? Like, maybe I could give that a
Hell
try.
yes, you could.
Who used to be in a frat? Like, maybe, but I'm always going to be attracted to the oddballs and the weirdos
Yep.
and the people that have anxiety and alienation and just don't quite fit in. That's where my heart goes. Like,
Mhm.
those are the people I'm drawn to. Those are the people I love, and those are the characters I like to play.
Mhm.
Are you gonna do some acting? You should do some acting.
You know, I actually
Come on.
I've done one audition
Oh, wow.
before. I
Okay.
actually really, and I didn't think I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up doing theater.
I want to manage your acting career.
Oh my God, I would love
Can I be your
that.
manager?
Yes, that's really easy. That's easy.
Emma, we've got an audition for you.
You can do the reads with me.
No, that's a manager doesn't do that.
Come
Sorry.
on. Just the first.
That'll cost you.
Okay, fine. Per hour or like per minute. You're more per minute for that?
We could go $1,000 an hour.
Ouch. That's fine. We'll
Worth
work
it.
it out. Well, actually, there's something that's really interesting to me about acting is my entire career is quite literally it's all about me being myself all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. I've almost never played a character, and there's something so appealing to me and almost refreshing to me about the idea of doing the opposite.
Mm.
I think what's curious to me is like, can those who are familiar with me separate me from
Mm-hmm.
from what would be the character?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like this opposite sort of like, for you, people talk to you and they're like, where's Dwight? Like,
Yeah.
oh, that was kind of like Dwight.
Mm.
That it's like, are they gonna, with me, they're like, this is weird. Like, she would never, like, they're immediately gonna be like, well, that's not her. That's not her. But maybe not. Like, I don't know. I don't know how it would translate.
It's a relief from being yourself sometimes.
It
like,
is.
oh, I get to be in someone else's shoes, see the world through the lens that they see the world,
Mm-hmm.
can have thoughts and feelings that they're having, not necessarily what I'm having. And there's something really magical about that transformation. I don't want to
Yes.
sound pretentious, but it's exciting
Yep.
to do when you can hook in to a character's guts and
Yes.
transform from your normal
Yeah.
slobby self, then
Yep.
it's great.
Do you feel like as an anxious person, like it's a anxiety relieving sort of activity to
Yeah.
be on set? It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, there's a different set of anxiety. Like if you're on a set and everyone's watching, how good are you? There's a certain anxiety. If you're on a stage and there's people watching, that's
Well,
a
yeah.
different kind of anxiety.
Yeah.
But the kind of anxiety that I have has to do with just me being in my own skin
Mm-hmm.
and just my anxiety. I do a lot of things to, I don't want to say control it, but to manage it. So
Yep.
I do exercise, I do prayer and meditation. Um, I'm in therapy and I have other tools to, when it starts to creep up on me, I can recognize it and say, "Oh, hi, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, anxiety. What's going on? Like,
Yep.
what do you need? Oh, you're afraid right now. Do you need soothing?"
Yep.
To me, I feel like anxiety, and my therapist works with me on this a lot. It's like it's a need that's not being met.
Yeah.
So when it appears, it's like you have to go not just, oh, I'm a suffering, I'm a slave, I'm a victim to my anxiety. What's
Mm-hmm.
the next step? What is my anxiety telling me that I need? Is it
Yeah.
telling me that I need to unplug for a while? Is
Yep.
it telling me I need to exercise? Is it telling me that I need a hug? Is it
Mm-hmm.
telling me that I need a nap? Is it telling me I need to be in nature?
Yep.
Does it telling me that I need to kind of finish those things that I've been putting off for months that I
Mm-hmm.
said I was going to do? Like, allow it to be your teacher and your guide.
Yeah.
Don't allow it to become your master. And it takes a while to figure that out. It took me decades to kind of figure that out. But now when the anxiety rises, I get to detach from it with love. I get to
Mm-hmm.
it's welling up. I get to go, "Oh, there you are." Put my arm around it. What do you need? What do you need?
Do you get panic attacks?
I used to get panic attacks a ton in my 20s. Yeah.
I'm going through that
Yeah.
phase
Yeah.
right now. I get so many, and it's horrible. It's
Yeah.
like, and it's, but it almost becomes, I think, this thing where, and maybe you had this experience too, where it's like you become afraid of getting another one because
Yeah.
you know how
100%.
debilitating it is to get
100%.
one.
And you still start to feel it well a little bit. Like
Yep.
you feel the hackles rise and your breath gets a little short and you're like, "Oh no, I'm going to get one." And you get
And
more
then you get
anxious.
one because
Yeah.
of it. It's like you
Yeah.
maybe just
100%.
were a little nervous. Now you're like fully having a panic attack.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
There are two different types of anxiety. There's like anxiety that comes as a reaction of something and it's inevitable. Being on stage, of course you're anxious.
Yeah.
But then there's anxiety that's like it's almost unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's not.
It seemingly comes from nowhere. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But you know how you get in through an anxiety attack, like you learn, you don't fight it. You recognize, oh, here it is,
Mhm.
and it sucks, but you have to breathe through it, and you know it's going to pass.
Mhm.
You don't hold your breath, you breathe. I would always lay down on the floor
Yep.
and kind of fetal position and then it would pass, and then you learn, okay, it's going to pass.
Mhm.
I used to get them on talk shows. So when I was doing like the big talk shows like Letterman and Leno and Kimmel and stuff like that, I would get them before the talk show. And that was
Yep.
part performance, but it was also part like imposter syndrome of
Yep.
like, you're not funny enough, you're not good enough, people aren't going to like you.
Where was the pressure coming from to
Well-
be funny?
well,
Was
there-
it coming from within? Was it coming from the industry? Like what?
Well,
Where was
it's
that
both.
pressure?
It's two parts. Number one, it's the most artificial form of entertainment there is. Like if you're
Mhm.
going on Jimmy Kimmel, you talk to the producer, like, we're gonna have you on for 6 minutes.
Yep.
What funny things happened to you? What stories can we tell? And they're looking. It's kind of scripted.
Oh, yeah.
It's worked out ahead of
Yep.
time, and you're expected. And especially for someone like me, I'm expected to go on there and be really funny, right? Because I'm the guy who played Dwight, but I'm not a stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an actor. I play characters, and the
Yep.
characters are written funny.
Yep.
I'm not I'm a little bit funny, but I'm not like that kind of funny.
Yep.
I'm not like Seth Rogen funny or, stand-up comic funny,
Well, sure,
John
like-
Mulaney funny. I can't just go riff and just be brilliant. So that's the one pressure. And then the other pressure is like, oh, you're not going to be funny. They're going to see through you. You're going to see what a loser you really are.
Ugh.
And then there's that imposter syndrome kind of thing. And then that's the fear of like, they're not going to like me. I'm going to bomb. So it's this two pressures.
Mm.
So that was tough to negotiate for a while. It only lasted a couple years, but then I got through it.
You're podcasting it up.
Yeah, I'm potting it up.
So are you balancing potting and,
Yeah,
and acting, or are those?
Exactly. I'm in a great space because I used to just be all about my acting career, and I had such a low self-esteem if I wasn't working or if I wasn't getting new work. And it's definitely things have kind of slowed down to a certain degree, but you never know. In showbiz, all of a sudden I could do something and it takes off and things work out great. But so I'm still acting. I'm going to go do a movie in 2 months in New York, and I'm going to do a play in LA later this year. And I'm going to do the acting, but I wrote this book called Soul Boom: Why We Need a Spiritual Revolution. And it's really about um, the power of spirituality
Yep.
to affect your life, both on a personal level, but also on a societal level.
Yep.
And I love having those kind of conversations, like just the conversation we're having about like anxiety and mental health, but also like, how do we make the world a better place? And how do
Yep.
we think about spiritual tools to help transform the world? We've just recorded like 15 episodes of the Soul Boom podcast that's coming out in April. And I love it. It is absolutely my bliss is to be having these kind of conversations, meaningful, deep, impactful conversations that are
Yes.
also a little funny.
Yes.
So
Come on, a little funny.
a little funny. We're cut from the same cloth,
Yes.
Chamberlain.
Yes.
And you're my second favorite Chamberlain, Richard Chamberlain.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm happy to be second. That's easy for me.
Okay.
But if you met my dad, I would be third. And if you met my mom, I might actually be fourth.
Oh, wow.
I have like fun parents.
They're great Chamberlains.
I know.
Wow. So I'm doing this pod and this kind of work and writing and I love it, and I get to do that in acting. So it's just win-win.
See,
all
that's
around.
great. It's nice to do a little bit of everything, but for some reason, when I saw that you had this new podcast coming out, I was like, is this the new vision? Are we still acting? Like, or is this the new vision?
Yeah.
But I think it's exciting to hear that. No, it's like you're just adding this on to what you're already doing.
Yeah.
Acting is not done. Is your relationship to acting still healthy? Do you feel like you're going to act forever?
I feel like I'm going to act forever.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know where that's going to go. I love doing theater. I spent my first 9 years as an actor doing theater. You know, I may do a lot more, but I would like to die on stage.
Wow.
Playing like King Lear or something like that and have a heart attack.
I love that.
That's how I want to go.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And iconic.
And hopefully I don't like shit myself and puke on the stage when I do
will.
it. Like would it be possible for me to die on stage like
without
sexy in a sexy way?
Maybe, but like I think the shitting.
Or would it be like
shitting always happen?
Piss myself like blood.
Maybe it could be kind of romantic and like maybe somebody catches you. We could plan it.
Okay.
I'll manage that.
Okay, you'll manage my death on stage?
You manage my acting career.
Okay.
And then I will then in return
Deal.
manage this.
Deal.
However, I know you mentioned earlier $1,000 an hour for something. Let's get that down to $500 an hour.
Okay.
And then I'll manage.
Deal.
Do you see where I'm at?
Well, yes, I got you.
Do you watch what you're in?
Rarely.
I wouldn't. If I were if I was an actor, I
watched all the Office episodes once. So there's a lot of them I haven't seen in literally like 16 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
people will ask me Office trivia, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I can imagine you don't even remember shooting half of it, probably.
I don't even remember.
Right?
Yeah. People will say, like, remember the scene when, you were put Creed in the trunk of your car and you guys were eating hot dogs with Andy on the roof? Like, I have no idea.
No, I got it. Do you have a show that you watch as people watch The Office?
No, I mean, there's shows that I love that a lot of other people love that are just great television.
Yeah.
I rewatched The Sopranos again recently, and God, it was so much fun. I just love that show so much. I feel like there's a lot of other of those kind of shows I want to rewatch. The greats. Mad Men is great. Breaking Bad is great.
I haven't
Love
seen
Game of Thrones. Have you seen any of these?
You know what's
Wait.
really... No, can I tell you something about me that's crazy?
You need to shut the fuck up right now.
You need
Have
to send me
you
a list.
have you not seen
I've never seen The Sopranos.
have you seen Breaking Bad?
Mm-mm,
Game of Thrones?
mm-mm.
Oh my God, I don't know how to have this conversation with you. Can we wrap this up? Oh my God.
I know. I need to send you home.
Because this is what you're doing all the time. And
No,
you could be doing this
can I tell you?
instead of this. Kids, get off your
Stop
fucking asses
scrolling
and doing
and
this
start
and
clicking.
start
Can I tell you my excuse? I didn't grow up with cable. So I grew up with a computer. I
Okay.
watched so much YouTube growing up. That was my thing.
Ah.
I've watched a very limited number of.
Don't you love entering the world of a show though?
I do. I
Like
do.
just the slow thing of like there's 8 or 10 or 20 episodes a year and like you're going on an 8-year
Yeah,
journey and like,
I do.
like they get the popcorn and like put your phone away and just like
Oh,
immerse.
popcorn sounds so good. Wow, buttery popcorn. Think about how good that sounds right now.
Did you see Dune?
No. I saw the first one actually.
You haven't seen Dune 2?
No.
Did you see the first one in the theater?
No.
Oh,
God damn
you
it!
have to go to
No,
the theater
you know
and see the
what's
second one.
Is it so good?
So good.
Really?
Oh, it's so good.
Okay, I'm gonna so see that. I like am very. I've seen very few movies, and I've watched very little TV. Like there's something about me.
There's something wrong with
There's
you.
something wrong with me. No, it's because I grew up on watching YouTube that I love YouTube. Like when at the end of the day when I go home and I'm want to put something on the TV, I'm putting up YouTube. You know, I have watched a few shows all the way through. I'll tell. Have you watched How To with John Wilson?
Yes, I love it.
That I rewatch constantly.
But
I
that's
rewatch
like a
The
YouTube
Office,
show.
but it's fine. Of course, I rewatch The Office, but then I also rewatch.
How many times have you seen The Office?
Twice all the way through, which is a lot for me.
That is a lot
That's
for
a
you.
lot for me.
Yeah. For an average Office fan,
Um,
that's that ain't shit.
No. I'm like actually a rookie of the year, but like I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like a rookie.
I'm gonna
being
give you
bad
some
at
names of some
TV.
shows, and it's okay. And
Are you gonna forgive me, or are you gonna?
I'm gonna forgive you.
Are you gonna fire me, even though I'm your client and you're my manager?
It's a generational thing. I get it. I understand it.
Now we need to get spiritual.
I would love to get
Well,
spiritual.
I'm curious. Are you a spiritual person because of your childhood? Because you grew up with a rich, sort of spiritual experience? Did you become more spiritual as an adult out of necessity because life gets just more complex? And I feel like the every year that goes by, I need to be more spiritual. I'm finding. Like when I was younger, I was like, nah, don't need it. Now I'm like, oh my
And
God.
when you say spiritual, what does that mean to you? Because that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
For me, spiritual is any sort of feeling of connection to something bigger.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what it is. I don't like it can be religious, it could be completely personal.
Yeah.
Like for me, I went to a Jewish preschool and then a Catholic high school. So,
Okay.
but I am not super religious. Like I never went to church with my family
Mm-hmm.
on the weekend. So it was like around me, but I wasn't super religious. And then as I'm growing older, I'm becoming more spiritual out of necessity.
Yeah.
Like actually it's like I cannot survive without that
I
element.
think a lot of Gen Z, my understanding is that Gen Z more and more are turning to potential spiritual answers for not only the anxiety, depression, alienation, loneliness that they might feel, struggle with, addiction issues, overwhelm, but also as the systems around us continue to fail. The political system is dog shit, let's face it. The economic system is increasingly unfair. Racism and sexism continue to rear their heads constantly. The environment is degraded. I think Gen Z people are more and more interested in looking at what would a spiritual solution to this look like based on spiritual concepts like compassion and mutuality and consultation and love and selfless service toward others. And I definitely feel that in your generation.
It's a uniquely challenging time because it is cushy and comfortable in ways to live today compared to 100
Yep.
years. You know
Sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But then in other ways, it's so complex.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's been a dismantling of like traditional religion in America anyway, where there's so many people who are rejecting a traditional approach, and but they still need that something spiritual.
Yeah.
What's your spirituality routine right now?
Well, let me go back to the first question that you
Yeah.
asked, because when I said I left the Baha'i faith when I was a kid and I went into my adulthood, what happened for me is anxiety, depression, addiction, loneliness hit me hard in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the 90s, there weren't a lot of answers for those things. It wasn't like you couldn't go to betterhelp.com. You
Yeah.
couldn't get the mindfulness app. You couldn't
Yep.
listen to the podcast on wellness. Like, there weren't these resources out there. A couple of self-help books in the Barnes and Noble, but that was
Mm-hmm.
about it. So I know who could afford therapy back then. So
Yeah.
I turned to the only thing I knew, which was spirituality. So I started out of my personal misery, started reading the writings of the Buddha, and I read the
Mm-hmm.
Bible and I read the Quran, and I was searching for something. Because I thought, well, maybe if I tap into some greater meaning, and some greater connection beyond, like you said, myself,
Mm-hmm.
then I will find some uh, solace.
Yep.
And I think humans are wired this way. Humans are wired to be spiritual. We always want to find something greater than ourselves. We always want to worship something greater than
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And that might be money, that might be your career, it might be celebrity, who knows what it is, but we always want to find something greater than ourselves to worship in a way.
Yeah.
But oftentimes we're worshiping the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're worshiping, success, or worshiping status, or
Yeah.
worshiping our social media personas. But what would it be like to worship, oh, I don't know, God? And by
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't mean an old white man on a cloud with a beard who's
Yeah.
judgmental. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But some kind of power force that courses through this universe and
Mm-hmm.
infinite other
Yep.
universes that we can tap into and find inspiration and connection. So I came to spirituality out of necessity,
Mm-hmm.
not out of virtue. And I think that that doesn't mean I'm arrived or especially wise or illumined or anything like that. I needed it to cope. And that brought me back to my Baha'i faith of my childhood. And I am a participating member of the Baha'i faith. But I think for everyone, it's um, what tools can we find from spirituality, from all the
Mm-hmm.
different rich, beautiful faith traditions
Mm-hmm.
to make our lives better. So my daily practice is prayer and meditation every morning, a connection with my higher power,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I have a little bench out in my backyard, so I'm able to kind of connect with nature, and there's
Mm-hmm.
hummingbirds, and there's,
Oh,
you know,
yes.
you said it so well, just instantaneously, like, what does spirituality mean to you? And you're like, connection.
Yeah.
And it's all about connection, and it's connection with something greater than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a friend group, as we're increasingly isolated. So I connect with my friends, and I try and think about my life in terms of, I've been given these talents and attributes for whatever reason. I'm this big, weird character actor who's intrigued by spirituality and issues around mental health. Like, what can I offer?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm able to give
Mm-hmm.
of myself, not only does it benefit the world, it also makes me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and harness that as well.
It's so true. When do you feel the most spiritually aligned? I don't know if I've ever felt perfectly spiritually aligned. I feel like I'm always working on it, you
Yeah,
know?
I don't think it's something you arrive. You
Right.
never arrive at the mountaintop and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're there.
Yeah.
It's a process. It's a mastery. If anyone undertakes tennis or tai chi or some kind, or chess or
Mm-hmm.
one of these things, like, they are you're seeking mastery, but that doesn't mean you ever arrive.
Yep.
You seek to become better and better at it.
Yep.
And gather more and more tools. But when I feel the most spiritual is in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I try and go camping at least once or twice a year and like really do, hardcore. There's a psychologist who came out recently with this thing. I forget who their apologies. I forget who it is, but they talk about how we need to get outside at least every day.
Yep.
Then we need to have like play dates in nature at least once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And then we also need to go isolate in nature at least once every couple months. So think about
Interesting.
like connecting with nature on ever deepening ways
Mm-hmm.
for our well-being. But I also, like you said, connection, like love, gratitude, connection with others is where I find God,
Yeah.
and yet do I worship like a power greater than myself? Do I worship some kind of like cosmic energy force that's creativity and beauty and music all wrapped into one? Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that force is very powerful. But I also find God just in connection with others.
Amen.
I'm finding God in this podcast room with you.
Really?
Right here.
Oh
right
my
now.
God. You're like my God today.
Stop it.
I mean it. I mean it. Yes.
Is that what your
God
God
picks
does?
his nose too. Like, sorry. Okay. That was amazing. I feel like we can set each other free today.
Let's do it.
Do you feel like we
Total
nailed
freedom.
it? Now, what do you have after this? Do you get to like go take a nap? I might go take a nap today.
I am going home and I'm taking a nap, 100%.
Oh,
And then I'm gonna play tennis tonight. And
cute.
yeah.
Hey, thank you for doing this.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
It was so fun.
Yeah, it was great.
I can't wait for your podcast.
Yeah, well, there's an open invitation if you would like to come.
I would love.
We shoot it out in suburban LA. It's a little drive, but it's really fun, and I guarantee you there'll be delicious snacks and an invigorating conversation. We'd love to have you on Soul Boom.
I would love to. Okay. We'll get that on the books.
Okay.
You're the best.
Appreciate it.
Yay.
Bye.